My brother Al taught me so many things in this life. He taught me things like kindness and generosity. He taught me about simplicity and acceptance. He taught me about perseverance and how to press on when life was difficult. He showed me how to be a true friend. And he taught me about sports, whether I was interested or not. One of the non-negotiables in Al's life was his TV. His TV was his lifeline to his sports. You could not go to Al's place for a visit without the TV on and some sort of sports blaring. What was nice was that as he was getting a little bit deaf, as all the dams do, the volume went up and his neighbors could also enjoy his sports. Now, I'm not going to just give you a lot of fluff about Al, only about how wonderful he was. He certainly had his struggles and challenges, and he caused so many people worry and grief. But he was so much more than an alcoholic, more than someone who abandoned his kids, more than someone on welfare. He had a wonderful and kind heart, and that's what I want to share with you today. Al taught me kindness. Al was my big brother. Now let me explain that a little bit more. I have 3 brothers, Pete, Al, and John. Now I need to let you know that they're all good brothers. Well, let me clarify. Now they're good blood brothers. When we were young, it was Pete and John, who were not our favorites. They would tease and pest and argue with us. Torment, really. Al was the gentle brother, the kind-hearted brother, and he always remained that way. For my sister and I, he will forever be known as our nice brother. Al was also loved by the dogs in the family. When Al came over, the dogs would go crazy. They jumped all over him, would follow him around. He was always known to slip them a little food, so I think there was something behind that. And Al went out for a smoke about every half hour, maybe 15 minutes, something like that. And the dogs got to go outside with them, so they got like walks continually. So they loved that too. So, and Al loved all animals. From the birds on his patio that he fed, to the hurt rabbit he took home one day in hopes of nursing back to health. He was really a gentle spirit. Al taught me about generosity. Al was always willing to give you the shirt off his back, even when he only had one shirt. He would share whatever he had, even if it was little. If he ever received a gift, he was quick to share it with his friends. Sometimes I would have bought him something and later asked where it was, and he would say he gave it to someone who really needed it more. Rather than have his food last for a week, he would share it with others who were equally in need, and it only would last a day or two, and that was Al's spirit. And to this day, when I see someone who is homeless, I cannot walk by without giving them a little something to make their day easier. You just never know whose brother it might be. And if any of you know Al, you also know that he loved candy. All candy. Al loved druppies the most. It was probably his favorite food of all time. Sharing his druppies was not an easy thing, but Al would still do it. Now, most of his buddies in the Kitchener area, they couldn't stand those awful things, which really actually made Al very happy. He was willing to share his druppies because that's who he was. But I think he preferred to share the druppies with his friends from Kitchener, who were not Dutch. And it makes me happy to know that the last thing Al ate in this life was a druppie on Sunday night. Al lived for today. He never worried about tomorrow. He never had a plan for the future. If he had food for today and a roof over his head, he was good. He did not need much. At the beginning of the month, Al ate well. He would enjoy the things that he liked. At the end of the month, he might not have money to buy food. That's when he enjoyed the homemade meals that his family might drop off for him. Even in his home in Sarnia, Al was giving. He was known to buy 3 loaves of bread, 1 for himself and 2 for his birds. But Al's birds did not just get dry old bread. No, he was the generous sort. They got peanut butter sandwiches. He may not have had food for himself, but his birds ate like kings. Al taught us about a simple life. Material things were not important to Al. When clearing out his apartment this week, we discovered some personal mementos that he had, cards and photos from years ago. but he was able to maintain even for the years he lived without having a home. It was clear what was truly important to Al. Al taught me acceptance. Al had a lot of hardship in his life. Most of you know he struggled with alcohol, and it crippled him for much of his life. He had a lot of challenges, struggling at various times with not having food to eat, not having a home to sleep in, not having employment, not having the basic necessities of life. Yet he never complained or asked for help. He never blamed others. He knew he made his choices, and he lived quietly with it. Often during these times, when he was living in Kitchener, Al would visit me about every 3 to 4 weeks. We'd spend a day together, do laundry, just catch up. I would often ask Al if there was anything he needed, if there was anything I could do for him. I had so much and he had so little. He was my big brother who I loved so much. And I just wanted to take care of him. And he'd always say, there's nothing I need. So I'd search my fridge and my cupboards and I'd get bags of food. So you send it with them. You know, I'd say, well, let's go to Walmart on the way home. Let's stop there and make some suggestions. And finally he'd say, well, maybe I could use some eggs. And then later, and maybe a bit of bacon. And then we go a little further and maybe a pair of shoes. And then maybe some peanut butter. And now I'm thinking that peanut butter was for those birds. It always took a lot of time and questions to discover what needs Al truly had. He never wanted to be a burden. He never wanted for people to feel sorry for him. He accepted his lot in life, and he never expected to be given anything. Al taught me about perseverance. Al had persevered for much of his life. Before his illness, he struggled with the basic necessities of life. But after he was ill, he struggled in a very different way. He now had food and shelter, but he struggled with mobility, with exhaustion, and mostly with pain. He suffered with so much pain. Yet he rarely complained about it. He would withdraw from events and people when he had bad days. And he just suffered on his own. He never wanted to be a bother to others. If he knew we were coming for a visit, he'd force himself to perk up, and he would be ready for me, offering coffee and snacks. But before long, he would again need to retreat to his bed to rest. He had way more bad days than good ones. But on the good days, he got on his scooter and he was flying down the street. I'm sure many of you saw him. Maybe almost hit him with a car. It gave him his independence, and he just loved that scooter. And through it all, Al always had a sense of humor. Even in his last year, when his pain did not overtake him, in the moments when he had good days, he was always ready with a wisecrack. Even on his last day, it was filled with humor and a lot of sarcasm, getting a laugh out of us. And I'd love to share you more about Al's humor, but it probably wouldn't be appropriate for this audience. So, Al taught me about staying true to his word. On the streets of Kitchener, Al always made sure his word was something that counted. He lived a life with very little to his name. And so his reputation was his reputation that meant something to him. No one could take that away. He knew a lot of people who were known just to take from others. But even when Al had little, he would always share what he had. After his lengthy hospitalization and his move back to Sarnia 2 years ago, it was important for Al to come back to visit me. I was thrilled to have him back, even just for a few days. But he had another reason. He needed to return to the soup kitchen, where his community of friends gathered. He had left something undone. Al had borrowed some money from someone, and he was determined to make sure that his debt was paid. He went there with the $20 in his pocket and finished what he needed to do. Even when it would have been completely understandable to not do that, Al persevered and showed honor. He was a good man. Al taught me about friendship. Al was a guy that people were drawn to. He was always likable and friendly. People really liked Al. He was a good friend. He was known to bring food to one of his roommates when that roommate couldn't go and get it for himself. He did it quietly, without being asked, without expecting anything in return. He had some good friends, and his friends, Ed and Sharon in particular, were two that he held dear to his heart. They connected closely and spent so much time together. When Ed became ill with cancer, Al drew closer. He stood by them through the struggle and visited them at the hospital every day. He was a loyal and dear friend. He was by Ed's side when Ed finally lost his battle to cancer. And today he remains friends with Sharon, and he was thrilled to have her visit on the weekend, on his last day. And I wonder if maybe he waited for her to come. Al taught me about authenticity. Al was Al, wherever and whenever he was. He never put on airs, never pretended to be someone who he was not. Al was in jeans, running shoes, and t-shirt kind of guy. Dressing up for him meant putting on a clean t-shirt. Every now and then I would have to pretty him up for a big family gathering, like a wedding or a funeral, and he would reluctantly go along with it. But as soon as he could, he was just back to being Al. He was most comfortable in his own skin, in his own apartment. Al knew that he let his kids down. His years of struggle with alcohol consumed him, and his ability to develop relationships with them. We could never understand how he did not reach out to them. He was so broken, and he believed that they would be better off without him. He convinced himself of that. Yet his heart still loved them. He was so proud of their education, of what they had become. A police officer and a social worker, such noble professions, that made him proud. People in Kitchener heard about them. They knew about Al's kids. He would often say that their mother raised them so well. He never felt worthy enough to take a lead in their lives. He felt he did not deserve that. He felt that staying away and out of their lives was better for them. Many of us will never fully understand the choices that Al made in his life, but I believe in my heart that nothing he did had a selfish motive. I asked his friend Sharon to share with me just about the Al that she knew. And this is what she said. She said, the Al I got to know has a big heart, and when he made a friend, he cared deeply for them. He was mischievous at times, loved to laugh, loved to play pranks, did not like drama or bad talk about people. He was by no means perfect, but he made a wonderful and great friend. Al was my big brother, and I will miss him dearly.